Hello, creeps. It's me, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and you're listening to Chronicles from the Crypt.
I'm Casualty Chris.
And this is Father Malone.
And we are the hosts of Chronicles from the Crypt, a twice-a-month look at the cult horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt that originally aired on HBO from 1989 to 1996.
Now, in each episode of this podcast, we're going to be looking at 2 episodes of the television series, and along the way, we're going to have some bonus episodes covering some other Tales-related materials, including a game show and a children's cartoon, and some movies that were actually based upon, or at least related to, Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, one of those movies actually has a pretty kick-ass soundtrack, that being Demon Knight. I believe it has, like, Pantera and Sepultura on it. It's got some good stuff. But we're
Best thing about it, I guess.
Oh, come on.
Not a great movie.
Wow. You know what, man? You're just a real bummer today.
Not a great movie. What can I tell you?
Because there's all these bats in here!
Oh, look out, close the door.
Close the door, all these bats are getting in. Oh, man. So, on this episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be talking about episode 3 and 4 of season 3, The Tarp and Abra, Cadaver.
The tarp?
Oh, excuse me, the trap.
Yeah.
Greetings, boars and ghouls. I'll be with you as soon as I finish with this customer. We were just going over some of the terms of his coverage. I'll bet this is one clause he won't be getting out of. Tonight's nasty nugget concerns a man with a problem. He wants to collect on his life insurance without dying in the process. I call this little annuity the Trap.
Alright, so The Trap aired July 10th, 1990. It is originally from Shock Suspense Stories number 18 because nothing in this show comes from Tales from the Crypt. It all comes from elsewhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, technically it is an EC comic, so it's not like it's from, The Flash, issue 45. It's from Tales from the Crypt, an EC comic at least. It is directed by Michael J. Fox. Yes, that Michael J. Fox. Written by Scott Alexander from the source material by Stephen Dodd. It stars Terry Garr, Bruno Kirby, and Bruce McGill. And the episode is about Bruce McGill and Terry Garr, a couple who have no money, and Bruce McGill's a real piece of shit. And Bruce McGill's brother helps them fake his death, but to hilarious consequences.
Whew, boy, wasn't it funny?
I actually kind of like this episode.
Oh,
it's a little much at times, and it's a little over the top at times. But we're talking the comedy episodes, I think the twist at the end is pretty great. It's completely unbelievable.
Yeah,
but I mean, I genuinely have no idea how no one realized it was him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I do like the twist at the end. I like the basic structure of the story, and I do like the fact by the end, like, everyone just refuses to recognize him as who he is. Like, that's really good. But I do think that particular framework does, in fact, come directly from the comic. Now, as you mentioned, it was from the Shock Suspense Stories number 18. It was written by a guy named Carl Wessler and drawn by Jack Kamen, the amazing Jack Kamen. And it follows the structure of the comic pretty well, except in the comic, it's actually the wife who comes up with the plot. They're talking about how, and he's not like a terrible guy or anything. It's more a sort of a love triangle, which this ends up being kind of. where she has already set the plan in motion. She has befriended the town's undertaker, and they're actually having a secret affair, and then they convince him to be part of the plot. So this one, they kind of stack the deck the other way. They make him a prick who comes up with the concept, and then they get one over on him. And I actually like the comic book version better, I got to say. So it was written by Scott Alexander. That's one half of Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, my favorite writing duo as far as cinema goes. They wrote Ed Wood and People vs. Larry Flint and Big Eyes and the Problem Child movies. I think, I don't know, man. Like, I generally don't like the comedy episodes. I think... It just, it's one thing to, like, write it and read it, and then another thing to sort of, like, play it that way. Like, I always think comedy is funnier when it's played straight, and in this case, it's like, oh, this is a comedy, let's play it as comedy, hey, over there, kind of school of humor. Not one of my favorite episodes, not certainly the worst this season. We're only 3 episodes in, but... I don't know. Overall, I'm not a big fan of this episode. Laying the blame with you, Marty McFly.
I actually didn't dislike it. I mean, it was dumb, and it wasn't, like you said, it doesn't play the comedy straight, which in Tales from the Crypt, that can become a little much when you've got the bloop, 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 bloop kind of music that's like really over-the-top music that is just, it becomes so fucking grating. So grating.
Needle
so
scratch.
Fast. Yeah. And look... Scott Alexander, he is a good writer. I'm not sure he's a great comedy for TV writer.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to go with Larry Karaszewski as the brains behind that outfit.
Yeah. So it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't really stick the landing with the comedy. It feels a little too ham-fisted with the comedy. I mean, look, you've got great parts of this episode. I mean, Terry Garr is good. I mean, I love her in After Hours.
Terry Garr is really an underrated actor. I think she was really popular in the 80s. Like, everyone knew her name, and she was in a lot of things. She's kind of faded into the movie mists of time there. But, she's great. She's always believable. Like, I think she's actually the best part of this episode. And, yeah, Bruno Kirby plays it almost super straight. Like, he's not going for the comedy at all. He's playing it, I think, as it should be. I think Bruce McGill is a little bit over the top.
I'm Lou Paloma! I'm Lou Paloma! Okay.
Blow me.
No one cares. No, you gotta go, I'm Lou Paloma. Blow me.
Just like the phone call he has with the insurance agent, the guy just keeps going, look, see? Like, oh my God, really? Is that what this is? Like, now you gotta pay up, see? Like, okay. They apparently have Edward G. Robinson on the end of the line.
It's a little out of time, too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it should have been a period piece with the way the dialogue was written, but instead they have it right here and now. And by that, I mean 28 years ago.
Let's talk about Michael J. Fox.
Yes, shall we?
Why was he in this episode again?
He's in it because he directed it.
Yeah, but didn't Schwarzenegger direct an episode and he wasn't in it?
I mean, look, he gave himself the smallest part in it, which is fine.
Well, but here's the thing. I would agree with you if they had done a Harrison Ford and E.T. with it. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden they have that shot where he, like, comes in from the side of the shot.
Yeah, he, like, leans in like, hey, remember me? I'm Michael J. Fox, movie star. Yeah, it's a bit jarring given that he's cast, effectively a bunch of character actors, people who I think most viewers would go, oh, I kind of recognize him from something. What was he in? But then suddenly here's a megastar, Michael J. Fox, mugging in the camera. Not sure he needed to be in the episode at all, but...
so much so that James Tolkien is in the episode.
Yeah, there you go. And if you notice at the beginning of the episode, the husband works for Zemeckis Pizza, which he's just gotten fired from.
Did you also notice the Bruce McGill nod to Animal House?
Which one?
The one where he goes, holy shit! The exact same way that Belushi says it in Animal House.
That is true. Bruce McGill, forever D-Day in my heart.
Yep. Which is fine. that is a much better thing to watch than this.
Yeah.
If you're looking for comedy.
Yeah, there you go. There's comedy played straight and hilariously at the same time.
But again, I don't dislike this episode. I mean, it's okay. But I like the twist. The twist at the end makes up for a lot of the episode's problem.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Because it is unrealistic in a way that Tales from the Crypt normally doesn't have to deal with. But I thought it was fun, it turns out no one recognizes him and now he's going to jail for killing himself. Like, wow, that's pretty clever.
That is pretty sweet, actually. That is a definite Tales from the Crypt twist worthy of the original comic because it's in the original comic. But I gotta say, it's one of these situations where in the comic at least, like, they set it up so that the husband is a bit oblivious and he's not that dumb. They make it seem like, look, you've got to get out of here now because you're going to get caught. So, like, go disappear for a few months, which is what they do in the episode as well. However, he has no inkling that his wife is up to no good. In this, they have sex on top of his casket while he's laying in it. And then when he gets out, they're like, yeah, here's 15 grand, go wherever. Dude, you're not getting that money. You're never coming back. Like, you should know better. I don't like when the characters as dumb as they are, and they sort of play into that here.
Well, yeah, wasn't the point supposed to be that he was just a big old oaf?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but then, I don't know.
You can take that concept too far.
Yeah, and I think they did here. I mean, he could be an oaf, he could be a particularly horrible human being, but he needn't be an extremely stupid one as well. Like, at that point, you're just like, well, good, like, you deserve it. Like, I think the reason the comic works better in a way is that it plays against the usual Tales from the Crypt sort of moral compass, which is like even the worst people are going to get their comeuppance in some way. In the comic, this guy is unassuming. He goes along with the plan and it fucks him, and then it fucks him again, which I like, to the point where even in the comic he actually comes back to his house to find them, and they're acting like they don't recognize him. So it's like it's even more of a mind fuck for the guy. Like, they're like, who are you? Get out of here. We don't recognize you at all. This is my wife. They've already, like, remarried and whatever.
Well, they do that in the episode.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, they sort of play it, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I like the story, and I don't like the episode necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, for me, it's a little unbelievable even for Tales from the Crypt. It's like, do people really not recognize Superman with glasses off?
Right. I mean, I do like that his mother was insane at the end, and...
Well, that's the best part.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you're my son, and I'm Eleanor Roosevelt. Oh,
yeah, I like that a lot.
But, hey, again, at least it's not a love triangle episode.
At the end of the day, that's the barometer which these episodes can be judged. Like, was it good? No. Was it a love triangle? No. Okay, then it's a good episode.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I would say watch it, but it's a soft watch it. Yeah,
I'm actually going to go ahead and skip this one. Like, I think the overall tone with the comedy just sort of kills it for me. So, as much as I like the twist, I would just encourage people to read the original comic.
All right, so let's move on to the next episode. Abra, Cadaver.
A corpse by any other name would smell as sweet. Unless, of course, it isn't dead yet. Tonight's tawdry tale is about a man who's gravely concerned about matters of life and death. Why he'd care about that remains to be seen. I call this putrid piece Abra, Cadaver.
All right, the episode originally aired July 17th, 1990. It is from Tales from the Crypt. However, it did not share the same name as the episode. It was Dead Right, which I think's probably a better name for the episode, but that's just me. It's directed by Stephen Hopkins, written by Jim Burge, stars Beau Bridges, not Jeff Bridges, not Jeff Bridges, Tony Goldwyn, and Tom Wright. And the episode centers around Beau Bridges and Tony Goldwyn as brothers who, one of them Tony Goldwyn plays a prank on Beau Bridges that costs him his medical career, and then Beau Bridges pays his brother back in kind. Interesting episode. I think it takes way too long to get to the twist.
Yeah, I get that, but you know what? Like, this was, I don't know, I love this episode. I think it's really good. I think I remember seeing it at the time and loving it, and revisiting it just recently. Like, I think it works, man. Like, you just mentioned it's from Tales from the Crypt number 37. It was originally called Dead Right, written by Bill Gaines and Al Feldstein and drawn by Jack Davis. This is one of the ones where they use the framework of the comic and then spin out a better story than what they had originally had. In the original one, it's two old men who are physicians who are debating the idea of the brain continuing on after death. In fact, the majority of the comic is them sort of going back and forth about it, and then one guy says, "Listen, I'm bankrupt, and I've killed you. I poisoned you, and I'm going to take your inheritance." And the other guy dies, and he's still awake and conscious, sort of during the death, and then they pretend that they've given him a funeral and they buried him, and then they dig him back up. And he says, "No, it's I just created this new thing, and I wanted to test it, and I wanted to show you that, I'm right about these things." But the guy had actually already had a heart attack, and so he is actually dead, but he is still conscious. So he sort of proved the other guy right. It's good and kind of shocking as the comic. This, the sort of layer with the brothers and the prank, and I don't know, man, I really dig this one.
Look, okay, so it's Tales from the Crypt, so it's a mean show. This episode got a little mean at the end, which is fine, but the episode is a little mean-spirited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As well it should be.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
I do wish the title was different, because Abracadaver is real stupid.
It is in that it has nothing to do with magic other than the idea of voodoo being sort of a magical, quote-unquote, sort of ceremony. Like, if this had been about an actual stage magician, then it would have made more sense. Like,
this title could have been switched, or could have just replaced Well-Cooked Hams.
Yeah, right?
Which has nothing to do with hams, or cooking them.
Right. The Dead Right is perfect. I mean, it's about characters proving each other right, and what would be wrong with that title? And ultimately, who gives a shit about the title of the episode? It's just another Tales from the Crypt. It's that one where this thing happened. But I don't know. I like this one.
But I'll tell you what. Even if we shouldn't give a shit about the title is so dorky it sticks out.
Yeah, I mean, it sticks out in a bad way.
That's the problem.
When I heard the title again, I thought, oh, this one's going to be dreadful, without sort of realizing which episode it was. I mean, look, it involves a cadaver, sure, but not really.
But it's a fun episode.
It is, and Beau Bridges is fantastic, and Tony Goldwyn's great in it. I say this a lot, but maybe it's in comparison to some of the other episodes, like particularly watching it on the heels of the previous one. It seemed all the better, but it felt like dark, and it also, Tales from the Crypt is shot through with humor, and the funniest ones to me are the ones that aren't even attempting comedy. So I think this one works in that level as well, the sort of sick humor, which is what I really expect from the comic, or from the show as well. Like I said, all the performances are good, particularly the performance of Tony Goldwyn's magnificent flashback hair. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Good Lord. What was that on his head?
It was a lion's mane.
Yeah. And Tony Goldwyn's great. I mean, I think he's good in pretty much everything I've seen him in.
Yeah, I can't really complain about the guy. Like, I always enjoy his performances, and I think he's really good here. Like, playing dead, you shouldn't be able to see much of a performance out of it, but somehow it does feel like a very well-rounded performance when he's just pretending to be a corpse. I also particularly love there's a moment with the sort of Rastafarian coroner, blows weed into his mouth and he starts coughing, but he's like, what am I doing? I can't cough. Like, that line made me laugh out loud. It's
a good episode, and like you said, the meanness of the episode, I think, it is warranted.
Yeah, and
right?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think having this sort of prank that effectively destroys his brother's sort of surgeon career, which he was on the track for. I think deserves the payoff he gets, but it's not even necessarily an intention of the payoff. Like, he wasn't, Beau Bridges wasn't attempting to kill his brother. Certainly, he just wanted to prove his theories are right. And it's particularly horrifying at the last line. You were wrong. Nerve endings are the last sense to go. Like, he can feel them as they're performing the autopsy on him. That's a pretty horrific concept to take away with at the end of the episode. Rarely is the last moment as good as that. They'll usually
as he's screaming in
his own head, yeah, and they're sawing into his skull. That's pretty good, man. Like, it's a lot better than Mariel Hemingway with bad makeup. Like, I'm with you for eternity. Like, okay, sure, good twist.
Yeah, it's way better than that episode, but that's not hard.
I know. I'm just saying, like, even in the episodes tend to have a moment where they're like, okay, and now we need a twist. So they'll throw everything they can, thinking like, what's shocking? What will shock people here? This is actually shocking. That's as I said, a nightmare of a concept that you're trapped in your own head, and you can still feel everything being done to you, but you're already dead. As a matter of fact, like, he's actually like praying for them to remove his brain so he can stop feeling things. It's really awful. Yeah,
like the conceit of the episode is worse than the way that they portray it, because you could just really get into some horrifying like thought processes of what that would actually be like.
Yeah, it's an awful thing to contemplate, and rarely will a 27-minute moment of television like get you to contemplate such thoughts. So bravo. I don't know. I really dig this one.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good one, and I think again it's just the right amount of dark, and just the right amount of dark and comedy to really kind of push the needle and be a worthwhile episode of the show watching, because as opposed to last episode, which is just comedy, this is a lot better than the last episode because this mixes the two. But I think it's a lot more horrifying now.
Absolutely. And, Stephen Hopkins is a good director. Like, I think it is actually really well directed, particularly all the point of view stuff from the Tony Goldwyn stuff when he's the corpse. He's hanging in the meat locker and the camera's slowly swinging back and forth. Like, I think that's all pretty awful, but in a great way. Stephen Hopkins is one of these guys who I think he mainly directs television now, which is a shame because
he got his start on Nightmare, right?
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
He started
Dream
in the
Child.
U.S. essentially.
Yeah, he did that. He did a movie called Judgment Night, which is not a great movie, but it is very well directed with Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Dennis Leary, like a sort of urban dread film. It looks beautiful. The script does not hold up to Stephen Hopkins' direction. He's one of these guys that I feel like had he been given the right material as a filmmaker, not a television director, I think he could have been pretty massive. So I do think this episode is very well directed. My criticism of most of the episode centers around how cheap everything looks and how set bound it all looks, and that is missing here. It's actually feels like a tiny film, which I totally appreciate.
I mean, yeah, it definitely felt like a set, right?
In this episode?
I mean, parts of it.
I think the production design for the computerized thing with the voodoo thing popping out of the machine, that didn't look great, but it didn't feel underlit. It didn't feel like I could see where the walls met the floor that they just threw up with plywood 20 minutes beforehand. I think he's got a good eye. It never felt like a television show to me. It felt more like a movie, even with that the sort of not up to snuff computerized section.
Well, at least it's better than Love to Death, which looked like a set.
Yeah, a lot of the episodes end up looking like that, and which is kind of shocking to me because it tends to be like actual filmmakers making those episodes and just kind of shrugging, I guess, or just we want to turn it around quick today. We don't want to have to relight everything when we do a reversal. So it's nice when somebody actually...
So like Mary Harden on that one episode.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the hallmark of terrible lighting in a Tales from the Crypt episode. It's unforgivable, and clearly you can do it and make it look great. So why doesn't everybody? I mean, Robert Zemeckis isn't going to do that in one of his episodes, nor would Walter Hill. So everyone else should be striving for their level. Not everyone is them, obviously, but like you can at least fake it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I mean, for me, this is a watch.
Yeah, this is a big old watch for me. I watched this episode, one of the better episodes of Tales from the Crypt. God bless it.
So on the next episode of Chronicles from the Crypt, we're going to be talking about top billing and dead weight. I don't remember top billing being very good.
I have no recollection. I'm interested to revisit.
It has John Lovitz in it.
Oh, well, no, it will not be good.
Well, I think the problem with top billing is that once you know what the twist is, the episode's just kind of
like a time waster.
It's kind of dorky. Well, it's got John Lovitz and it's got Bruce Boxleitner. It's got the John Aston is like the big part of the episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what?
I'm surprised you don't remember that episode at all.
No, I mean, I vaguely remember it, but you say the name John Aston, and I'm immediately intrigued. So.
And it's directed by Todd Holland.
Oh, there you go. Well, you know, how bad can it be?
Right. He only directed The Wizard.
Another one I do not know.
The movie The Wizard.
Oh, The Wizard. Oh, okay. Well, then it could be bad.
Children's Nintendo commercial, The Wizard.
Yeah, the Power Glove. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, okay.
Now you're playing with power.
Yeah, sure are.
Until then, where can people find you, Father?
As always, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Ot5 Films, and my series You've Never Seen, about movies that have fallen by the wayside or never got their due. You can also hear me on Dreams for Sale, the Twilight Zone 85 podcast, where we discuss the good reboot of the original Twilight Zone back in 1985.
And you can find me over at a little podcast I do with my buddy Mike White, where we talk about Kolchak the Night Stalker. That is kolchaktapes.com. And a podcast that I do by myself with some other guest co-hosts called The Culture Cast, where we talk about movies. And that is over at culturecast.com. Big thanks, as always, to John Kassir for giving us a little bump, little intro, little Crypt Keeper intro. And we'll see you on the next episode.